The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station or Clear Channel Communications.
It's the Innovation at Work radio show with Winston Edmondson. Are you a small business owner with high hopes? An inspiring entrepreneur with big dreams? For the next hour, Winston exhibits his blueprint for success in your land of hopes and dreams. And now, here's your host, Winston Edmondson.
It's another great day on the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson. You know, I love it. I absolutely love it when you have kind of the collision of big ideas and innovation, but you also have kind of that controversy. And if you know me at all, you know that I will always play the devil's advocate, not because I want to hear people get riled up, but I think as a big thinker, as an innovator, it's my job, my duty to really kind of try to understand the full picture. And even though I'm very religious, I'm a Christian, I'm very conservative, I'm still going to look at every issue and try to kind of wrap my mind around the whole thing and see, okay, what are we talking about? Is this my bias coming out, or is, are there real issues here? So shortly, we're going to have a great conversation with the CEO of Ashley Madison. If you're not familiar with Ashley Madison, actually, I'm sure you are, because it's everywhere. They've been on The View, it's been on CNN, it was on Hannity the other day. This is the website for folks that aren't being fulfilled within their marriage, and they want to get that fulfillment elsewhere, and they use this website to find a partner, a temporary partner maybe, to hook up, to have an affair. And there's a lot of controversy here. A lot of people are upset about this. So we're going to have a conversation with Noel Biderman in just a moment. This is the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sally didn't know what to do. Her marriage seemed to be almost through, but she heard a commercial that they called controversial. So Sally went with infidelity. It's exciting when you're lonely. The only place to find it on is ashleymadison.com. A world where like-minded adults come to play.
Before you get to hear the full story,
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Ashley Madison?
I absolutely have thoughts. I was at Fellowship Church to hear Noel Biderman speak with Ed Young and a couple other people. They were debating adultery and what it means, both religiously and in your life.
That was pretty brave of him to enter the
lion's
den like that.
There were so many people there who were from Ed Young's church, so I felt like he was sort of odd man out. But he was really interesting. You know, he's a businessman, and he explained that he was a businessman, and this is why he's doing it. I can't personally support it. I don't think that adultery is right for me, or for the people around me, but he does make a compelling case, and I hope he makes it on the show.
All right. Well, we'll see what the final verdict is.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you next week. Maybe
All right.
Maybe we'll see you this weekend when we're out on the town.
Lots to do. Thanks.
All right. Now let's get on to something that's a little more controversial. Got a lot of people on Facebook that are chiming in. So far, it looks like, well, not a lot of support here. So this could be challenging. I don't know I'm a little worried. I'm not sure if we're going to take calls because I know there's a lot of anger. It seems like personal anger out there. Maybe these are people that have had a personal experience with a cheating spouse. I don't know. We're going to take a quick break in a moment, but before we do, let me go ahead and bring him on the line. Noel, you with us?
Oh, hey, Winston. Thanks for having me.
Noel Biderman, the CEO of Ashley Madison. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Very well. You know, I'm all about big ideas. The Innovation at Work radio show is the only show that focuses on big thinkers and some of the exciting projects that they're doing. And sometimes I don't always agree with the business itself, but I'm certainly willing to acknowledge, wow, that's a very innovative concept. So let me say from the get-go, I think you're doing something that, it's controversial, but it's pretty innovative.
Yeah, wouldn't you say, Winston, for the most part in America, we tend to look over our shoulders at some of our past and wonder, maybe we were a bit too puritanical in some of that approach, or maybe we weren't liberal enough, or maybe we got that wrong, and we kind of look back on our history sometimes and say, we wouldn't behave that way today. And it really takes entrepreneurs sometimes to lead us in that direction. And so while things during that transformation can feel challenging or even problematic, sometimes we have to respect that entrepreneurial spirit that drives America.
You're sure thing. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, Neil, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson, fumbling with the camera here. If you are on your iPhone or your iPad or your iPod Touch, you can stream us directly to your little device by using the Justin.tv app. Just do a search for Innovation Envy once you have that downloaded, and you can watch us live. I've got a show, and I'll tell you what, I will take calls, but I'm going to have my call screener screen very carefully, and if they're all just obnoxious, I'm not going to bring you on, because I want to talk about the concept here. This is a big idea. What are the implications here? I've got Noel Biderman, the CEO of Ashley Madison. Noel, I want to find out where the inspiration for the site came from. Tell me a little bit about the founding of the site. How long have you guys been active?
We've actually been around since 2002, believe it or not, but it took me 5 years to try and figure out how to build a discreet, anonymous, secure platform that I could actually go with some confidence and market. And so while people feel like it's an overnight sensation and have seen it of late, I actually worked on it for a good 5 years and spent tens of millions of dollars getting this thing ready for prime time.
Speaking of prime time, during that time, were you also preparing yourself for all of these media appearances? I mean, you've done pretty well. You've been up against some pretty vocal people that really want to slam what you're doing.
When I came up with the idea, there's no way that I would have thought that 9 years later we would be in 5 countries with 6 million plus members, and that I would have been on every show that you could imagine, from the CNNs and Foxes of the world to the Views and the Nightlines of the world. I couldn't have imagined that much reach. But what I was sure of, and the reason I created this service, was that people were straying, and they were using, singles dating sites to do so. They were using the anonymity that the internet provided, and the success of singles dating sites really, newspaper ads had never really been a big business for those companies. The personal section was a very stigmatized business, but the online dating world became very mature very quickly, and so a lot of people used that as a playground and pretended to be something they weren't. And I just thought to myself that these people would probably prefer a social network of their own, and wouldn't we all be better off if they were aggregated in that kind of community? And that truthfully was the genesis of Ashley Madison.
Sometimes you see some parodies out there that take a concept like dating sites or whatever the case may be and have a really funny parody, and it almost seems like Ashley Madison could have started as a parody, something that no one would have really thought would be an actual website or an actual web service that is so popular. When you first came up with this, did you always have a business plan behind it and that entrepreneurial spirit where you wanted to build something, or at first were you almost kind of playing around with what could have been considered a joke?
No, listen, you're right about the parody aspect, in the sense that I remember some of our first TV ads, people would create comments and send back saying, was I watching a Saturday Night Live skit? Is this for real? And they were kind of aghast that this business would be in existence. But from my perspective, no, I never treated it like that. I said to myself, listen, if the numbers are right, if 50 to 60% of people out there are straying, if that's part of the landscape, that's a massive marketplace, much bigger than the singles dating marketplace even. And if 30% of the people going to these singles dating sites are these people who are already in relationships, and if I'm right about the economics of how many people visit massage parlors and strip clubs and escorts, oh my God, I can build a landscape for these people that might be more safe and more secure, might be as a net to society beneficial to aggregate this behavior. And so it was always approached by me as a legitimate business enterprise. Again, it's rapid growth, it's success today. I don't know how I could have anticipated all of that, but I was pretty sure that I would be successful, that there would be money to be made here.
Now, what if let's consider some bad habits where you have a product that takes that bad habit and doesn't really do away with it, but it tries to help. So Nicorette gum. You've got smokers, and they say, oh, you don't want to smoke, it's so bad for you. use Nicorette gum. You'll get that same. And so it's kind of saying, okay, this is a bad habit. If you're gonna do it, maybe you should do something that's not quite as bad. What if you tried to present this as something that says, you know what? Don't go trolling in the bathrooms. Don't go tapping your foot in the bathroom stalls in the airports. Don't do this very dangerous and extremely risky George Michael type behavior where you're just trying to get satisfaction wherever you can. Use if you're going to do it, use more of a safer environment. Is that something that you think might shield you from some of the criticism?
I don't know if anything shields me at this point. I think I do say that. I think I do say that, listen, an affair in the office place leads to somebody losing their job or getting an unfair promotion, all these things that are bad for business, are bad for people. And so that's a bad idea. Meeting an unsuspecting single person on a singles website, that's unfair to that person, and the risk of engagement then goes through the roof. Visiting an escort is clearly against the law and comes with all sorts of issues around sexually transmitted infections, and so another bad idea. So if we can change those behaviors, to your earlier point, I see that as a net benefit. Now, do people get angry at me? If I was doing this, I suppose, as a charitable organization or some sort of humanitarian organization, maybe my criticism would be mitigated to some degree, but I'm not. I'm doing it as a business enterprise, and so I think that's what also engenders a lot of the criticism.
Interesting. It's, we all have our own biases, and it's interesting. When you have a topic like this, they really come out. If you want to join the conversation, you can, 214-787-1190. Tell me a little bit about what this process is like. You have someone that, for whatever reason, they decide they want to put themselves on the market. They want to stray from their marriage. When they go to the website, what can they expect? What is that? Walk me through that.
Sure. The very and most important thing that you just articulated on is, whatever the reason that they decide to stray in their marriage. I'll tell you what isn't the reason. They don't do it because they see my commercial or hear my jingle on a radio station. Nobody is that pliable. Nobody in a happy marriage does that. And the proof of that really has been that over the last 9 years, the busiest day on my service every single week is Monday morning. Why? Not because I advertise Sunday night, but because the weekend is full of expectations about meeting and connecting with your partner and intimacy, and for so many people, it's failed expectations, and that's the last straw. And so in the end, you can't persuade someone to go and have an affair. Nobody is that pliable. What you can do is constantly tell them, hey, this is a community for people like you. And so that's what they encounter. When they go to sign up, they build a profile and they say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, and they join a community where almost everybody is in a similar life stage. And they get to look around and connect with people and say, what are the challenges with your marriage? What brought you here? And if they find someone that, I guess, resonates with them, they'll probably meet with them. But my job is just the introductory platform. That's the role that I play. I have nothing to do with what happens offline. I'm just allowing these people to join a social network of their own.
If a lot of people are upset, but I think anytime you have something that can be viewed as negative, there are ways to at least draw information and learn from it. So what I find fascinating about the website and the statistics on when people are joining, you can really learn a lot. So tell me a little bit about this Mother's Day kind of boom in subscribers.
Yeah, well, that's no different than the Monday morning effect I just described, right? Which is that is an event, a holiday where we celebrate, motherhood, where we celebrate partnership, family, all those kinds of things. For a lot of people, their relationship are challenging, but that day they're hoping is a barometer of, hey, this is how much I mean to my family and my partner. If that day becomes painful for those people, and it happens to millions of people apparently, if it's painful for them, if it just resonates that once again they're not appreciated, they're not truly loved, that's the last straw for them. They may not, this is really important for your listeners, they may not be willing to leave their relationship. Raising their children together is critical to them. Their economic situation, their extended family, but they're not going to feel lonely anymore. They're not going to feel bad anymore. They do want to connect with somebody who understands them. And so, that's what drives them to sign up to a service like mine.
So we're really talking about, in a major way, expectations. If
100%.
Yeah. So, and I think along with that goes communication. People don't want to hear this, but the spouse that feels that their expectations were not met, and that's it. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. They're going to go get satisfaction elsewhere. I wonder how much effort they're putting into communicating what they expect.
No, that's a really fair question. And listen, there are truthfully thousands and tens of thousands of people out there encouraging and insisting that that's what you have to do to be successful in your relationship. And I'm actually one of those people. I'm a married man myself. I know that the secret to my marriage so far has been forthright and honest communication and keeping that window open. And so I do think the majority of people do try and do that. I think one of two things does happen, though. The communication doesn't lead to the results that they're seeking, or they're terrified of being honest within their communication, of how they're going to be judged or looked at, or what the ramifications of starting that communication is. And so in a strange way, they're actually more comfortable straying than having that challenging communication.
And it really is puzzling to me. I really wonder why the anger is directed at the person that is operating a business. You have a business that if no one wants to use it, you go out of business. I'm upset with Americans that are doing this, that are going out and choosing to cheat, whether they're using the website or not. I think the acceptance of infidelity is terrible. And so, I mean, why do you think that it's directed at you rather than the people that are out there making that choice themselves?
Well, I think it's the lightning rod effect. It's very easy to be angry at the topic of infidelity if you believe it to be a source of marital discord. If you think that that's one of society's major problems, I kind of view it slightly different, where I kind of view the problem is, families breaking down, and because we put sex and monogamy so front and center, maybe we're causing that to happen a bit more. But that argument aside, I think if you believe that infidelity is this huge problem, is this large problem, and it's pervasive, and it's almost glorified when we see our presidents doing it and our favorite athletes and celebrities doing it, then, it's easy to find a villain. It's easier to point fingers at a villain, and what better one than me and Ashley Madison? Just, I'm there to take it on the chin.
Now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you about maybe a possible future celebrity endorsement. So many celebrities cheat, and you've got these celebrities that once were pretty hot. Now they're looking for work. I wonder if you could entice one of these celebrities to endorse your product and say, "Yeah, I use it." We'll find out. This is the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson. We've got Noel Biderman from AshleyMadison.com. We're talking about innovation and how sometimes you might not agree with an idea, but maybe you should at least acknowledge, wow, that is a pretty big idea. Infidelity is not a fun subject, but it happens, and Ashley Madison is a website that profits only when people choose to do that. Is that right or wrong? I'd love to know what you think. Now, we've had some callers, and they didn't get through because we can tell that they are not in the right frame of mind to speak intelligently. So we're not. If you're mad, just listen. But if you want to contribute to the conversation, you can call 214-787-1190. Noel, one of the individuals that's watching us online, projectinnovation.net, says, yeah, celebrity endorsement would be good. Jesse James would be a good candidate. So, hey, maybe that could work.
I think the point I've tried to make around the Jesse James situation is he, too, did it in the unsafe way. So what I mean by that is he met someone not on Ashley Madison, but he chose a platform called MySpace. That's not where people are expecting to meet married people. It's just not what they're expecting. So whether or not the woman he met or the women he met there had any sense that he was married, Googled him, figured it all out, the bottom line is, it's happening day in, day out, whether it's MySpace, other platforms, other social networks, other dating services. That's the wrong place for married individuals to try and congregate or at least try and meet people. And so I think we all agree, especially users of services like that they would be happier to see any married person kind of off there, at least when they're behaving in that regard. And that's part of what we're accomplishing with Ashley Madison. There doesn't seem to be as much need for you to do that anymore.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of celebrities, I have an idea I'm going to pitch at you, and if you like it, maybe we can run with it, make me executive producer. But here's a way to picture this, the Ashley Madison movie. And, there's this weird phenomenon where a lot of single women, when they see a guy with that wedding ring, for some reason, that's attractive to them. That is intriguing to them, and it might be easier for someone with a wedding ring to pick someone up and to get a date than it is sometimes for someone without. So Ashley Madison, the movie, is about the main character. Let's say Matthew McConaughey. I think he'd fill the role where he's single, but he's not having any luck until someone thinks he's married, and then he decides to use Ashley Madison, the website, to find married people and to really seal the deal to make sure that they think that he's married. He actually pays a single mother to move in and where he can act like he's married. And so the single mother, let's say that's Katherine Heigl. And throughout the movie, you've got this, these funny things happen. But by the end, of course, as you can predict, Matthew McConaughey and Katherine Heigl end up falling in love, and it's a happy ending. And people, maybe they're not so mad about the name Ashley Madison. They just think of the movie instead of how much hatred they feel towards what people are doing.
I think it's brilliant. I think there's 2 points there that are real. One is, yes, social psychologists have kind of determined that over and over again that women are actually more attracted to men who are already taken, whether they do that by showing them photos and describing these men as single men and seeing the rate at which they're checked off as people they'd like to meet, and then saying that these are men who are taken or have dated, and all of a sudden those numbers go through the roof. It seems to be the case. And so the other proof of that is really the real world sociology experiment that on some level Ashley Madison has become, which is almost 30% of our database of women are single women who join the service knowing that almost all the men on there are already taken, but yet seem to be happy to engage in that role. And so I think that it's important for women to hear that the sense of sisterhood they believe exists out there is probably also a fallacy that they need to revisit.
I want to talk about the site, and you say it's very discreet, and it's hard for me to understand how people actually use this, because once we found out we were going to speak with you on the show, we signed up and we were browsing and just kind of seeing what it was like. And I was amazed to find in the city where I live, people had their pictures, their name and their pictures out there. Some of them had maybe not their real name, and they had the picture where it didn't show above the neck. It just showed, them wearing a nice outfit. But some of them had their full picture. Is there a lapse in brain activity? What's going on? Why?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, we never ask anybody's name, so there's no way anyone's name is on there.
Right,
we don't allow names to be put into the
code name or
anonymous. And so when people ask me what celebrities or athletes are on there, surely they are, but I have no idea. We never ask your name. We don't want to know that. It's not valuable to us. So that's part of it. But I think there's a couple other factors. There's an entire product, which is our private showcase, and you can put your photos under lock and key and only release them one-to-one when you're ready. But, those single women that I mentioned before, they're on there without any concern, so they'll publish public photos. And then really what we have come across is they're just a mentality. You see it as brazen behavior or fearless, but really there's this notion out there for a lot of people that there's no way my partner thinks I'm doing this. And so I guess they're more brazen, and they're willing to post these photos and proceed in that way. But we've designed the product so you can utilize it either way, privately or public to the community.
That is amazing. It's maybe they're just so dissatisfied, so angry. Sometimes you hear people that say this was a cry for help, whether they someone commits a crime or whatever it is. They say in the some crevice of their mind they really want to get caught. This is a cry for help. And I wonder, for the folks that are putting their actual pictures out there, if they're dumb, if they just think, oh, no one will see this, or no one I know will see this, or if it is subconsciously some kind of a cry for help. They want to get caught.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a continuum of experience. When you have that many users or that many people engage in this kind of behavior, there's all sorts of motivations as to why you're being unfaithful. Some are in, one of the 20 million Americans in so-called sexless marriages. Other people might truly try to hurt their partner. They do want to have this affair so they can then tell them because they want to retaliate in some way, shape, or form. I'm not suggesting that their partner cheat on them, but for whatever reason, they want to hurt their partner. And so whether they are trying to get discovered or even walk up and tell them to their face, there's all sorts of things that go on, and so it's hard to know the psychographic. What I would say is, from what we've seen, the majority of our users are pretty clear, which is they do care about their partners and their children and their lifestyle, and what they are here for is to fill an intimacy void in their lives. And so a lot of people, want to judge you as therefore being bad or mistrustful or any of those things. I'm not so sure that's fair, and that's fully understanding their life situations. But these aren't people who are looking to step outside their relationship. They're looking to, leave the relationship. They're looking to step outside for a sexual purpose. And so that's what it's about for the vast majority of them. And I do think that they care and cherish their partners. They just don't know how to find a way forward when it comes to their sex lives. And I guess that's a challenge for a lot of people.
Here's another issue that I don't know how it can be addressed, and it's really not just with your website. Any website, any social network could have some of the same ramifications. But you see these news stories about folks that are getting fired from their jobs because of things they're saying on Facebook or things they're, teachers that are getting fired because they posted some criticism of a student. You see this all the time, and I've always wondered, these aren't 100% secure websites. I mean, it's not as if they are requiring your photo ID to make sure you are who you are. You can sign up and put whatever picture you want. And so it was always puzzling to me how people could actually get fired, why they wouldn't just say, that wasn't me. Someone lifted my picture and posted it themselves. So when you take that issue that's already out there and you apply it to ashleymadison.com, it kind of raises some additional concerns. I mean, you've got politicians, local politicians that already have, there are rumors about their infidelity. Seems like it wouldn't be that difficult to, pull up the city website and grab the, picture of the mayor and post it on Ashley Madison and put his name and maybe not even do anything with it, but just have it out there where it has someone's name and picture, where people that are surfing and see that, they're going to say, "Holy cow, the mayor's on Ashley Madison."
I think what's really important, a distinction between Ashley Madison saying Craigslist, where it had its tragic event, well, I don't know if you remember a few years back, where someone was actually murdered, or it just happened with Facebook, I think last month, or maybe even a few weeks ago over in the UK, a young girl met someone on Facebook who turned out to be a convicted felon, and she's now dead. It's really tragic. The bottom line is, the difference between those services and mine is every profile before it's released into my community is reviewed. And does that mean we can catch everything? Absolutely not. But any change you make, so if you're going to be on there soliciting, acting aggressive, doing all those things, we'll remove you. And if you're going to post something super suspicious, we're just going to remove it. We don't need our community kind of inundated with that kind of challenging. They already have enough challenges in their life, the people that come here. And so 9 years, no incidences. I think that says a lot about how well we patrol, how we keep fraud out, and we do our best. And sometimes things will slip through, but for the most part, you also have to be intelligent and approach everything with a legitimate head on your shoulders.
Sure. Like I said, we've had the CEO of LifeLock.com, and with identity theft, a lot of websites will at least have measures for you to contact them and say, "Hey, this isn't me. Please remove it." Do you guys have something like that?
Oh, no, absolutely. And things happen from time to time. Listen, I'll tell you a funny anecdote. I had a call with a company that was producing some marketing materials for us, and I was trying to reach him, and it was a Philadelphia number, and his name, I believe, was Stephen, and I misdialed, and I ended up dialing a New York number, and I asked for Stephen, and his assistant said, "What's it in regards to?" and left the whole message, and next thing you know, Stephen from New York, not the person I intended, called me back and was all weepy because he was calling back Noel from Ashley Madison, and I, after 2 minutes on the call, realized that I had dialed the wrong number, but I had created a level of anxiety in him that was real and palpable, and I could feel over the phone. So we are very committed, super committed to making sure our community maintains its integrity, and that everyone that's supposed to be there is legitimate and real, and that anyone who's not is removed.
So, they say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Seems like you might want to, even if you don't intend to use Ashley Madison to cheat, you might want to sign up so you can make sure that some fake you's not out there, or maybe even make sure your spouse or your neighbors that there's something about holding people accountable. Maybe you want to sign up just so you can keep a watchful eye out. I don't know. You can tell me what you think. This is the Innovation at Work radio show. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Brian Baker is a safe money specialist right here in Dallas. Join Brian this Saturday at 2 p.m. right here on KFXR for Safe Money Radio. That's this Saturday at 2 p.m. right here on KFXR 1190 AM.
The Home Depot has made a special buy on Kingsford charcoal. Two 20-pound bags are now just $9.97. That's about $6 off the old price. Mix the unbeatable savings with this easy-to-light, longer-burning charcoal, and you're going to have one lonely oven on your hands this Memorial Day weekend. Thanks to a special buy on Kingsford Charcoal. 2 20-pound bags, now just $9.97. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Through June 2nd, U.S. only. See store for details.
This is Dan Stewart from NORAM Asset Management. $1 trillion European bailout. Are you kidding me? And you're not worried about your portfolio?
I'm Dan Kofall for NORAM Asset Management. We offer the best in insightful financial advice. We have to. Have you ever prepared to do a 2-hour financial talk show every day? Danny and I write our own show and do our own research. Give us a call at 888-88-NORAM. That's 888-886-6726. 888-886-6726.
Al Gottfried here from Tee It Up. Stay in the know with the Tee It Up Show, presented by North Texas Golf Center. Don't be a high handicapper like me. North Texas Golf Center is the perfect place to work on your game, offering a lighted range and a par 3 9-hole golf course, open late daily on Walnut Hill west of Stemmons Freeway in Dallas. Tell them Tee It Up sent you and receive 50% off on range balls. Visit NorthTexasGolf.com.
Does it bother you that your financial advice seems to be exactly the same as it was 3 years ago? Should you listen to the self-anointed experts that are selling the same products they were in 2000 and 2008 before the crashes? Historically, financial advisors make money whether you win or lose, and I don't think that's funny or fair. I'm Vince Rowe, Chief Trader at Taylor Stevens Investment Advisors. We believe in education, use of proven trading skills, and unrestricted access to products that will help achieve our goals to be profitable in these very competitive markets. No one cares more about your money than you do. At Taylor Stevens, we make sure that you have access to your accounts 24/7 with the ability to move or trade safely online anytime. We also take our own advice and trade the same way in our personal accounts as we trade in our clients' accounts. Don't blow it all with a so-called know-it-all. Know it all yourself. Taylor Stevens has trading facilities and trading floors right here in DFW. Take a few minutes and call us at 972-991-1181, 972-991-1181. That's 972-991-1181.
It's topical. Just how long does that new girlfriend smell last?
It's educational.
Let me teach you how to handle a bossy woman in your life.
It's the Daily Nooner with John Clay Wolf. Weekdays at noon.
This is KFXR Dallas with all the top news and business stories of the day. It's all on 1190 AM.
Welcome back to the Innovation at Work radio show. I'm Winston Edmondson. Pull us up online, projectinnovation.net. You can also look for us on Facebook. Do a search for Winston Edmondson. I posted on Facebook, I think last night. You got to be careful. In Dallas we have a lot of people that are in the entertainment industry, and they want to get their concept for a show out there, and so they send pitches out. I do the same thing, but I tend to be a little more hostile. I like to challenge the networks that I think just have lousy programming. And but you got to be careful. Sometimes they say, "Hey, let's see what you got if you're so hot." And so I've got an opportunity that will be unfolding here shortly. What I need from you, my listeners, is a little help in these cities, and hopefully you can write this down, or you can go back and pull up the podcast. Austin, Texas; Seattle; Washington, D.C.; Boulder, Colorado; Salt Lake City, and there's a few more. I need you to go through your Rolodex and find out all the folks you know that are innovators that have startup companies there, or maybe they have venture capital companies in those cities. If you know of any networking groups, some startup entrepreneurial networking groups, things like that. I need you to compile all that info and get it to me. innovationatwork@gmail.com. There's a challenge ahead of me. I can't give you all the details yet, but I sure could use your help. Today we're talking with the CEO of Ashley Madison, Noel Biderman, and it's been a pretty eye-opening conversation. I think I'm going to get a little controversial right now because I'm going to throw out some things that to me seem like there's a bias, maybe an unfair bias. So in the past we've had a lot of guests, but we had a guest that worked with a nonprofit that was for women that were that had just gotten divorced or maybe were separated. But we were talking about some of the counseling that they give and some of the guidance that they give. And, they talk about, okay, if you're in a situation where you're the victim of mental abuse, which to me a lot of the times translates to just normal criticism. I mean, it goes both ways, but now there's this huge, it's mental abuse. And I got the impression that sometimes they are suggesting and recommending that they, take yourself out of that situation. You need to get divorced. I mean, to me, the end of a marriage is terrible. I mean, it should definitely be avoided at all costs. Do you think there's a bias there? Do you think these folks that are almost getting praised for really what could possibly amount to ending marriages, I mean, do you think that's a whole lot different than your company that has a service, Noel, that at the end of the day, really, you hope that people will get something out of their system and stay in the marriage, keep that marriage together. What do you think there?
I think that's much worse. The argument I've tried to put forward is that if faced with the situation where, you can stay in your marriage, remain unhappy, at least when it comes to your intimacy, or, pursue something on the side, or I guess your choice is to be a bit more selfish and say, I got to fulfill my sexual needs and I'm going to leave my family, I would much rather see people stray than divorce. I know one thing's for certain. The stats all bear it out. Children raised by single parents just have less opportunities. They get into more trouble with the law, with alcohol, with drugs. They have less education opportunity, do worse in school, don't have a good job placement in their early years. That's the real impact on society. And so that's been my point all along, which is I'm not trying to have the last word here, people. I'm just trying to start the conversation. We want to blame infidelity, but I don't think we're looking at the causation, and we're not necessarily looking at the true reason why we're angry at infidelity. We think it equals marriages breaking down, but there's a lot more to it than that.
And for the Christians like myself that are listening to this, and I mean, we really have to acknowledge that in our religion, God sees all sins the same, and divorce is just as bad as marital infidelity. I wish that people would really look at the complete picture. And, sometimes you hear from folks that are in a marriage where, let's say you've got a guy that is so obsessed with work that he is not, he's just not there sexually for his wife, for his spouse. That guy might just really want to come down on Ashley Madison, but it's just odd to me that he expects to never provide, what is needed, that intimacy, and somehow he doesn't think that she's gonna need to get it elsewhere.
Listen, I tell people this. I'm in a very happy marriage myself. I respect people who are in a spiritual place, are in happy relationships. I'm not trying to persuade anybody to go and do this. I'm really not. What I'm trying to get people to understand is, just because your life works one way doesn't mean your neighbor's is working that way. And we're not behind their closed doors, and we don't know. And to your point, people can feel lonely within their own marriage. It's just not fair. But these people are actually very committed. Yes, people can say, it's so selfish. And there are all kinds of stories. Yes, are there philandering people? Are there people who just had no reason to do that? They have the perfect partner, all that kind of stuff, for sure. But that's not the vast majority of my users. I got to tell you, those aren't the kind of people coming to my service. These are people who actually have struggled to come there. I sense that. We get that. We see they're self-publishing. Nobody's, no social worker or psychologist is hanging in the room telling them what to say. These people are telling us their story, and their story is almost invariably the same. This was a long time coming. They tried and tried and tried. They've tried to resist this, but they don't know what to do anymore. They truly don't know what to do anymore. And so I guess to them, this is the better avenue than leaving their partner. And I suppose we can judge them really harshly, but, my point is it's hard to judge people unless you're living their lives.
It's tricky. I mean, it is such a strange tightrope when you're talking about this issue. I mean, personally, it's hard to. I would never suggest anyone ever have an affair, but if I'm outside of the situation and I see that someone is looking at two options, either I'm going to get divorced and then every day for the rest of my life as a Christian after getting divorced, that's kind of continual sin versus a sin,
I hear you, but here are my last 2 points I think I'd make. If my brother came to me and said, this is the problem I'm having in my marriage, and these are my only two options, I believe at the time, I can leave, and he has 2 children, wife, whatever, or I can stray, I would encourage him to do the latter. That's me personally. Not everybody would. And I know they say, well, what about the counseling? What if he's already gone to counseling for the last 4 years? What if he's tried everything he believes is possible? Those are the options he's now faced with. I know where my heart lies, and I'd rather see him be a parent to his children full time. And the second point I would make is, if I found out my wife cheated on me and used my own service, I too would be devastated. I would be hurt beyond belief. But I wouldn't blame a website. I wouldn't blame any inanimate object. I wouldn't blame her cell phone. I wouldn't blame a hotel room. I wouldn't blame her lover even. And ultimately, I don't know that I would blame my wife. I would be accountable to myself and to my relationship. I think that's also what's missing in this dialogue and in a lot of American mindsets. We need to be way more accountable. People aren't that pliable. If your relationship failed, take a look in the mirror and say, I was 50% of that relationship, and so I'm accountable. Pointing fingers at things doesn't fix problems.
Yeah, I think I'd probably blame the guy, though. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Interesting statistics here. The top 5 states that for users of AshleyMadison.com, California, Texas, number 2, New York, Florida, and Ohio. Texas is number 2. I mean, this is a very conservative area. That's surprising to me. And I also wonder, I remember when you had these churches where they would send these spies, they would sit out in the parking lots of strip clubs with their cameras, and when people would walk by, they'd take their picture, take their license plate picture, and they'd publish it. So, it's kind of accountability for the congregation. Have you heard anyone doing that type of thing on Ashley Madison, trying to get in there and hey, you guys need to know who's out here?
No, but listen, societal norms, we have perceptions out there, and so it shouldn't be so surprising that the largest per capita consumption of adult material on the web is from Utah, right? There's some logic behind that, and so I'm sure Texans believe that they all think and act a certain way, but listen, I was on Sean Hannity's TV show the other day, and our service literally crashed. We'd never have that many visitors. Yes, many people could have been coming to protest or be angry or couldn't believe what they saw, but I assure you the vast majority were coming there to sign up and be a part of the service. And so, again, you don't always know what's in your neighbor's mind, what's in your friend's mind, your workmate in the cubicle beside you. In the end, it doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they're struggling with something in their personal lives, and maybe we should give them some more latitude and understanding.
Well, Noel Biderman, I salute you for being a big thinker, for trying to make some money in this Obama economy. It's not easy. I don't think people should cheat. I do think, hey, maybe you might want to sign up and just make sure your name's not out there. Make sure your spouse isn't out there. That might be a good thing to do. This is the Innovation at Work radio show. Glad you're with us today. Stay tuned for the AshleyMadison.com movie. I'm going to follow up with you on that, Noel.
Perfect.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.